7:30, we'll start the City Hall Council Chambers, and it's December 2nd. And so at 7:30, let's start off. Mr. Chansky, will you do the roll call, please?
Bevins. O'Day.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Beezer.
Here.
Kirsch.
Here.
Erickson.
Here. We have a full agenda today, a lot going on, so is there any corrections or adjustments to the agenda?
I move to approve it. Second.
We have a motion to approve it. First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I trust you've all had a time to read the minutes of the last meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
And first and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 And that motion carries also. Financial report. Miss Connie, is she,
She is on the WebEx.
okay. Connie, are you here to give us an update on the financial report?
Up. It looks like she's having connection up. Did we lose Connie?
She's there.
Can you hear us, Connie? Can we hear you?
Can you hear us, Connie?
Oh, we can't hear you, Connie. She has nothing to add. Reading
Move
lips
to
here.
approve the bills as presented.
Second.
Okay, approved and second of the financial report. Thank you for that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Let's move on to the executive updates here with Jennifer. Could you give us an update, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Since we have a long meeting, I'm just gonna be really brief with my update. Just wanted to mention that this Friday night, there is a tree lighting ceremony in the City Hall parking lot. That will be at 5 p.m. There will be a choir and also a proclamation from the mayor, and then I would encourage everybody then to go from there to the window walk downtown. DDBC has done a great job of putting together their Snowflake Lane. And then I think I'm just going to pass it to David. We have a couple of updates on Parking Commission recommendations that will be going to the City Council, as well as a few other things.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the EDA. Just a few things quickly, as Jennifer said, regarding the Parking Commission. The Parking Commission recommendations were presented to the City Council on a workshop on October 25th, and they'll be going to the City Council this upcoming Monday, December 6th, for some formal direction. During that meeting, the council will be taking public comment, so if there's anyone from the public who wants to comment on those recommendations, they can do so then. If they can't make that meeting, they're more than free to provide those comments to myself in writing, and then we'll make those as part of the public record and give those to the council as well. Those recommendations can be found on the city's website. If you go to under agendas, it's part of the October 25th workshop agenda. Otherwise, they will also be a part of the council agenda that will go out later today. Just two other quick things. Myself, Jennifer, and Eric, we had an opportunity to sit down with members of the state and Department of Human Services to discuss the state hospital property on, was it Monday? For a long time, the city's kind of considered that site, especially that green space area, about 72 acres, kind of a future development site. It is owned by the state of Minnesota, and so we never actually had any discussion with the state about do they have any futures. So we just reached out and had a good discussion with them and kind of got the layout, the process of what it would take to get that land developed. They seemed interested and or open to the idea of making that land available for development. So that'll be something to probably bring forward to the EDA in 2022 to start going down that process. It's a little bit of a lengthy process, but it's something that we as staff believe the EDA and the city would need to get ahead of in order for that property to be developed in the future. And then just the last thing, I know we have it on later on the agenda as well, but just an update on the RFPs. For the EDA, though that window closed on Friday, we did receive, I think it's about 9 or 10 RFPs about this. Myself, Jennifer, we're working through them right now, just trying to digest everything that's in them, and then with the goal of having that discussion with the EDA next week. And I think that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Good, thank you so much. That's exciting news about that state property. Thank you for working on that. All right, let's move on. Eric and John?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. John is actually at a meeting for our boiler project today, so I will be giving his side of the report as well. Just a couple of quick updates with the HRA side. City, David and myself did meet with the developer early in December or early in November, and we will be meeting with them again this month on a potential multifamily development in Brainerd proper. They're initially thinking about 60 to 70 units. Potentially looking at some state funding on that. Currently looking at properties that are in and available around Brainerd. They did speak with one landowner that they couldn't come to an agreement with at this point. They're still going to reach back out to that landowner sometime in the spring. The idea is they would like to get some land secured sometime by March, April, so they can move forward with any funding requests, eyeing that sometime in June to July of 22 with potential construction 23. So we'll keep monitoring that, and again, we're going to try to keep touch with them on at least a monthly basis to keep moving that project forward if they so choose. And that's an exciting project that hopefully we'll be able to work on. John continues to work on hopefully our first project that we can fund for our housing trust fund on the Crow Wing County HRA side. We are looking at doing some rehab of a roof in Brainerd, roof and some garage work there. So cautiously optimistic that we can maybe get that project at least closed, maybe not completely funded by the end of the year. It's going to be really dependent on contractors right now, and luckily it's only just a roof replacement, but contractors, as we all know, are very, very busy. It did go, scope of work is completed. The ball is back in the borrower's court to see if they agree to that scope of work, and then we'll move that forward to bids. Last update that I will give today, as you've probably heard or seen in the paper, the warming shelter is making progress through to getting towards opening. The city council did accept the interim use permit that they are requesting, and they have plans to actually open if their CO, certificate of occupancy, is approved tomorrow. They are planning on opening tomorrow night. It's a great thing. The city, the different commissions have really put an emphasis on trying to get this through while taking their time to do due diligence. The group is really excited about the opportunity of having that warming shelter open and open as quickly as they were able to. They've got some improvements that they're working on in that building. If anyone is interested, they are having an open house tonight from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. The address is 1926 South 7th Street. It is pretty close to Woodland Good Samaritan down there, or Bethany Good Samaritan down in that area. And just very excited for that opportunity to see that come to fruition. And with that, that's all I have. You can see John's updates as well. Maybe I will give a quick update on Brainerd Oaks. I just drove through there on Monday. There's 4 framings, 4 houses being framed up, and some dirt work still happening. So he is still continuing to take down lots. I think he was trying to purchase at least 1 or 2 more by the end of year. And just good progress still going out there.
Good, thank you, Eric. Is there any questions for Eric? Anybody have comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much for your report. Mr. Glenn.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and welcome everyone to the EDA meeting this morning. So just again, just a few updates. I know this is a long meeting for everyone, so a few updates from Bladek. Just we have Mike's program with the Key Recruitment Program has placed a couple more individuals in our community. Actually, 2 of those hired to Brainerd companies, so always good news when that happens from this front. And wanted to make sure that everyone knew that. We do have the white paper almost complete for the employee benefit survey that we completed, so we'll have that rolled out to everyone here within the next couple of weeks. Some good information from most of our companies throughout Crow Wing County, so it's good information to have. It's great for our employers to have this information. We did survey some employees as well, so some good information coming forward with that. The one thing that I wanted to update everyone on is our progress with our child care assistance grants. And with that, there is we had $500,000 that the county had earmarked for assistance for child care facilities for growth expansion, as well as improvements to their property, but also to assist them with training. And so To this point, we have about a dozen applications in place. We have another 3 of them that are going through processes with the Small Business Development Center, as well as First Children's Finance, to obtain and establish business plans, understand their financing. Getting into childcare just isn't as simple as opening up the door, as everyone knows. So these folks that are looking at these are looking at center-based organizations. So if they're to do that, they need to understand what goes into that. Obviously, most of them do, but the licensing for a center-based childcare facility is about a 7 to 9 month window. So the challenge with that is going to be making sure all of their financials are up to date, but also having a solid business plan and solid location. If there are improvements, as we all know, that's going to take some time, but just working through the application process for licensing is pretty daunting for a center-based organization. But we have some good applications in place. Again, the county had earmarked $500,000 for this. We hope the impact is real. For those of you that are in the room that might not have gotten the information around this, currently Crow Wing County is short about 1,200 spaces for childcare. So it's a very real problem in Crow Wing County. It's a very real problem throughout the state. The state numbers will tell us it's about 83,000 that are short in the state of Minnesota. So it's not just Crow Wing County, it's all of our corresponding counties as well. So it's a real problem. The county is using their American Rescue Plan dollars to try and help address this problem. So if those, as I've mentioned on a pretty regular basis, if you run across one of your county officials, make sure you thank them for their foresight and putting money towards this. And they'll have another $500,000 that they'll earmark for this again next year. So, and Vladik is administering all of these grants, and we're working with the folks that are looking to get into this field. So desperately needed. So we'll continue to do that. The application actually closes on the end of the day, Monday the 6th. We're having some discussions with the county on whether or not we need to extend that or how we need to look at some of these folks that are looking at licensing issues to get into this. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners? Mr. Glenn, I have one. Maybe it's none of my business. But
of course it is,
How
Wayne.
much money have they been requested from this $500,000?
Yeah, great question. It is actually kind of all across the board. We have a couple of requests that are in there for things as simple as new flooring for the basement of their home-based daycare, and we have a full request in from the YMCA for the full build-out of their facility. So it's across the board. The requests that are in currently have exceeded the amount of money that's actually available.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, but so there's going to be some decisions that need to be made around how the requests get handled by the county commissioners, but we'll bring them everything we have and let them make some sound decisions.
So if we've exceeded the $500,000, we might be able to stall because there's another $500,000 coming, you said?
That is correct. So the way that this funding comes, and David and I and Jennifer, we've talked about this obviously at length. The funding, the ARP funding comes ARPA. I don't want to think that it's ARP dollars, but ARPA dollars comes into what the federal government calls tranches. So the county received half of their allotment of $12.6 million in July of this year. They cannot request their second tranche of funding until 1 year has passed since they received their first request. So the next request will come, or the next funding cycle will hit the county in July of 2022. So they could. There's some options out there. Nothing's off the table at this point. They could move all of the money if they chose to do that now if their requests are sound. So we'll see what they decide to do.
Well, that's exciting news. That's something that I wanted to see happen.
Yeah.
Big time, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for your report.
You're welcome.
Tyler, appreciate that. Any old business? Anyone have any old business to bring up? Okay, let's move on to the new business. Oh, Jennifer, you have something? Okay. Let's move on to the new business here of the consideration of the letter of intent from B&D Power Solutions. Are they online?
Yes, I believe that Fred is online. And then if you want, Mr. Chair, I can kick us off.
Yes, please.
All righty, well, thank you. First of all, nice to see council chambers full for an EDA
Yeah,
meeting.
yes.
So At the beginning of November, I think our world has been consumed with cryptocurrency mining. BPU received a call from an organization, B&D Power Solutions, inquiring about the capacity of electricity in the city of Brainerd. Todd Wicklund, Scott Magnuson, and Trent Hawkinson are all here from BPU to answer any technical questions you may have. On November 16th, the group flew in and we did meet with them over at BPU and talked about a number of things in addition to the availability of power. They were also interested in looking at land. So they toured a couple of spots. They toured the Brainerd Industrial Center, and then they also toured the industrial park. After that tour, they had decided that they were interested in 2 of the parcels on the most eastern side of the industrial park. On November 18th, we did receive a letter of intent from B&D Power Solutions for those 2 parcels, and Lori has those up on the screen for you. Their offer was approximately $65,000 an acre for 2.914 acres. The buyer did also submit earnest money deposit with the city of Brainerd. The buyer intends to use the land for cryptocurrency mining operations. Right now, the Brainerd Public Utilities has a capacity of about 140 megawatts, and our peak in 2021, we used 40 megawatts of power. Again, BPU is here to answer more of the technical questions. So we believe that there is capacity for the electricity, for their electric needs on those sites with some modifications. And again, BPU here to talk about more of those details. What staff is looking for today is, as you know, the EDA has a right of reverter ability where the city council does not. So staff's recommendation is to request that the city council convey these 2 parcels of land to the EDA. You do have a meeting next December 9th. If the EDA is interested in doing that and the council also agrees, we would start to look at negotiations for these 2 parcels at your December 9th meeting. Mr. Chair, we're here as staff to answer any questions you may have. So I guess with that, I'll just throw it back to you. Yep, and then also Fred from B&D Power Solutions is available on WebEx.
Okay, any questions right now?
I have a couple questions. One, we have a capacity of 140 megawatts. We don't need more than 40. How does that happen? Like, how do we get a capacity?
Can you move your microphone?
Sorry, I
Thank
turned it
you.
on, sorry. Not sure when the study started, it was before I was even here, but we needed to rebuild our substation. So they looked at projected growth of Brainerd, and it was going like this back
It's been
then.
12 to 13,000 for 80 years.
I know, but that's what they came up with. So we installed 3 47 MVA transformers at the substation.
And we have this capacity now
Yep.
that we paid for.
We paid for we don't pay, right now, we only, with our power contract, we pay for what we need.
So
So
we only pay-
we're only paying for what we're using now, but we have the capacity available.
So my question in relation to B&D Power Solutions is, why don't they just put their crypto mines in Palestine, Texas?
Because we have right now, we have the spare transformers to make the power.
And that's rare. Other
Right now it
places
is,
don't?
yes, it is. I
So
mean,
it's got a
and
value to
they could go anywhere they want to go, but they would have to build a new substation.
Yeah.
And that's a year or 2 years. So that's why our extra capacity is so intriguing right now. It's available now.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question. Anybody else on the council? Mike?
I guess you kind of answered my question. I was going to ask, so we have some asks that are above and beyond what we have capacity for, at least at peak time. I was going to ask you if we were to somehow work both groups in and they were to work up to the capacities that they're asking for, how quickly could you increase the capacity for the city?
Well, I think the first ask from B&D was for 50 megawatts. We can do that right now. Just for crypto, when we met with them, they said 10 and then another 10 in the spring, I mean, you know, for 20 megawatts. We can do that right now. We have to do some line modifications. To get much farther above that, then we'd have to build a new substation. We're not sure on the time frame for that. We started talking to Minnesota Power and Great River Energy, who own that transmission line there. So we've got that ball rolling, but we're not sure exactly. I mean, the transformers are, I mean, a residential transformer right now, they're almost a year to get. So we're not sure on the timing of getting a transformer.
Go ahead, Mike.
More question. Obviously, there's risk and reward when it comes to selling more power, providing more power. What is the biggest risk? Say cryptocurrency or Bitcoin just completely flops, which it doesn't look like it's going to. I've learned more about cryptocurrency in the past week and a half than I have my whole life. Yeah. And one thing is that I should probably buy some. But what is the biggest risk, and then how do we protect the city from that risk through BPU or through this agreement?
I think one of the biggest risk is that BPU or the city would have a tremendous amount of investment, say in the new substation, new power lines, breakers, things that, you know, add up to hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, and then basically we're left holding the bag, you know, on the cost, and you know, developers move on before the contract would be up, let's say. But how we mitigate that is there's two ways of doing it. One of them is deposit, and I know this group that we're talking about today, and my discussions with them yesterday, is they're willing to put 6 months of deposit down, and so that's a huge sum related to you know, their commitment for the 50 megawatts. The other piece of it is that we would then, this is a horrible time to actually be entering into a long-term contract for energy right at the moment in the winter months. Gas prices dictate electric prices nowadays, and so the thought would be is once these groups get her up and running here for a few months, they would be based on, we would give them I guess an estimated price, because I'm still working on getting the price. This is what's kind of amazing about everything here. I'm still working with our power provider as to there's the capacity piece, there's the MISO piece, and then there's the energy piece. And so they're working with the MISO group. That's probably the most, the one that hopefully there's some discounts based on these loads. These loads that we're looking at for these two groups would be what they call interruptible loads, which means if there's a reason on the system that we need to curtail sales, then they would be willing to turn things off until the curtailment period was over. In order to do that, then they would be able to get a better price, and so that's what I'm waiting on. But the part then too is that BPU, the intent would be that we would enter into separate agreements with these groups. We would supply the amount of power that they're looking for. But part of the agreement is that these entities then would help, we call it aid in construction. They would pay for the power lines, the things that we need to buy to put these assets into service, type of thing. But then if we enter into long-term contracts, say 5-year contracts, when the prices are better in the spring, they would then, the risk to BPU and the city would be is that we're now on the hook for this block of energy for the next X number of months or years, and we want to make sure that that's being sold. And so that would be built into the contracts. There could be an additional kind of a deposit related to that, to the hedge, because we would now then be the owner of this block. We could actually sell it on the market. Could either it be a gain or a loss, but you have to assume that maybe there would be a slight loss for this type of block of energy. But so those are the risks, but I think the risk is mitigated with upfront with just if all the assets that BPU has to put into play here are being paid for by these entities up front. And then because at this point in time we're still making bond payments on our substation. When we put those big transformers into play many years ago, in fact one of them is shut off completely right now. the whole city can be operated on one of these transformers. So technically, we have 2 transformers that are available for growth. We don't want to go great to the max without having another plan in place, because there could be other things happening in the city of Brainerd. And so that's why right now, we're looking at possibly 50 megawatts and 20 megawatts. Those are huge loads to begin with, but the remaining 30, let's say, would be parsed out. We would need to determine how that is used, because you need to have some in reserve, but I don't think we need to have 30 in total. But these, what I consider what we're talking about today, would be phase 1s of projects for both of these entities, I'm guessing. And so phase 2 require, as Scott had mentioned, that we would be working with Minnesota Power, who's the transmission provider, and potentially with Great River Energy to relocate or build a new substation near the industrial park to handle whatever loads we think, phase 2 and phase 3 of these, these groups that they want to do, and then work on cost sharing agreements and such with when that comes into play. But those things aren't going to happen overnight. There's planning, there's transmission studies that need to be done. Quite truthfully, a month ago, that was probably number 10 on our list. But as everything else is kind of changing here, it's moved up to number 1, and so we've started discussions to upgrade. And it's a great opportunity, because the part that we're Brainerd and BPU is that we would have an adder on the bill. We call it a substation charge onto it, and that would be the benefit on the ongoing basis for BPU and the city, related to these contracts. Otherwise, everything is just a pass-through cost straight from our provider to providing the power to the industrial park or wherever else in the city that we have these types of operations come into play. The other thing that kind of needs to be remembered is what we do at that industrial park is we'll take all the available capacity that's there right now. And so if there was somebody else that wanted 2 lots or 3 lots to do something else, there may not be the capacity until we were able to, get another power line to that spot and or do some other things at the substation. We had 100 megawatts available, but to actually get it into play all at once is going to take some time.
Michael, did you get answered?
Yeah.
Tony?
I do have one question. So the B&D is asking for 50 megawatts, and with the updated document from just for crypto, they are asking for 60 megawatts. So we are above capacity with both of these.
Yeah, we would be based on the latest that we have, from the group here that's present. But so we would have to, these would have to be spaced out somewhat. We just don't have that amount available, and I don't think we want to go right to 100% of using everything we do have in the city. We'd love to be at 90-95%, but it's going to take us a few months and things to get things, a next plan and how we get more capacity into the city and at a different location. We have a goal. We've had it for years to build another substation because we need it for reliability. It's one of those things because 20 years ago we did have a tornado come through and put the whole city in the dark because it hit the one spot where all the transmission lines do come into that substation. So. What's happening right now will be a benefit to the city and the BPU in getting those plans that were kind of put together many years ago. Let's update it. Let's get another substation in the city to handle more growth. And we would love to have, if each one of these groups want 250 megawatts, so be it. We would love to have the capacity to do that, but it's going to take some time.
Good, thank you. Yes, Jennifer?
And Mr. Chair, just also want to add that the development agreement, we have heard from B&D Power Solutions that if we do negotiate a purchase and development agreement with them, one of the things that they would want is a contingency based upon the negotiation of power with BPU. So if the council conveys the land and the EDA does end up selling these lots, it could be a while before they're actually sold until those agreements are in place with the B&D Power Solutions and BPU.
Any other comments? Mr. Glenn?
Yeah, Todd and Scott, just a quick question. With the current peak at 40 megawatts, at what points of the year are we hitting that peak, and do we stay there? Or is that just the peak is what it's the highest it's ever gotten in Brainerd history, I guess would be my question.
We're a summer peaker,
Yeah.
so we get there in the summer. What is our peak this summer?
We're close to that. We're flirting with 40, 41 megawatts. A lot of that's weather dependent. So typically right now we seem to peak in the heat or the AC parts of the summer. So when we're trying to cool everything down with AC, our peaks will do pretty well. We'll take a 100-degree day, one day of it. Doesn't really affect us too much. It's the third, fourth, fifth day of that really warm weather when everybody's trying to keep these huge structures cooled off. That's when we see our peak loading. So typically, in July, August, somewhere in there, we'll hit that spot. Right now, we're peaking around 40. Today, we're running about 22. That's fluctuated on weather. It'll run up and down for us. We're talking about nameplate capacity earlier. What that capacity actually means is the BPU has transformers in place that can get more load put on them. So it's the nameplate capacity that everybody's looking for. Hard to find. These are big, huge, expensive pieces of equipment. When they put those substations, this is in 2008, there was a 3% growth adder, and that's how they came up with why they sized the substation the way they did. We add meters every year, but our load doesn't seem to grow. Part of that is the evolution of technology, LED lighting. So all these new buildings that go up used to be huge peak demand customers. Now with the efficiencies that they're seeing in their HVAC systems, their lighting systems, we're seeing more meters come in, but the load isn't going there. It's a good thing. So it's advantageous for us to load these transformers up to get the full value out of them. Like Todd indicated earlier, we have to leave a little room for weather so it can ride up and down. So long answer to your question, about 41. Back in 2006 when we started this project, or the substation project started, we had 2 transformers at that substation. Both were 30 MVAs, gave us 60 megawatts of capacity. The day we started that project, the paper mill was full operation. We were running about 54, 56 megawatts. We needed to upgrade those transformers. So we took them 2, got rid of them, added these 3 that we have today. And that's how we got the growth there, is they had a 3% escalator on what they thought the growth would be. It's hypothetical, it's a crystal ball, it's very foggy when you're looking out 20 years of what the power needs may be.
Good, thank you. Yes.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around what is the environmental impact of having this much more capacity added. The requests are asking for enough power to basically generate power for an entire city. So what are the impacts of that?
There won't be any environmental impacts as far as adding capacity. So the easy way to explain electricity is if you think about water in a pipe. Okay, so if you have a garden hose, you can only get so much water going through that garden hose. If you have a fire truck with a hose this big, you can get that much more water. So essentially what we have to do to get the electricity to flow out to these places, upsize conductor, rebuild circuits. It's really no different than what we have existing in our utility, just the wire size gets bigger, the conductor gets bigger, the insulators get bigger. It's like having a V8 car or a 4-cylinder car, gets you where you want to go, or you can have a V8 car, gets you there a little faster. We're running on a 4-cylinder right now with some of our conductors. We got room to go to a V8. We just have to get the bigger wire in there, if that makes sense.
The power that we're purchasing, though, is that water generated, coal generated? Where are we purchasing our power from?
So right now we're buying power from AEP. They are primarily a coal-fired utility. They do have to have demographics with other renewables in there, but right now they're primarily coal as of today.
So by adding this capacity, they would have to increase their coal production to get up to capacity?
No, it's a hard one to explain, but they talk about so what you have in the transmission grid is there's 4 transmission grids in the United States. We live in MISO. This is the federal government controlling where the power goes. We have to talk to the transmission providers to tap those lines. MISO is the guys at the federal level that ensure that nobody taps the power lines past the size of the pipes that are on the transmission lines. So if we come in and say we need 800 megawatts, the transmission lines have to get rebuilt. They'll look and do that study. They may say, no, there's not that much capacity because we'd have to turn on more coal. We don't want to do that. So there's lots of things that happen on the MISO level that can stop projects or start projects. That's at the federal level out of our hands. So the federal government is taking care of where the generation's coming from, if it's wind, if it's water, if it's coal, if it's natural gas. Like Todd indicated before, with the coal plants ramping down, natural gas plants coming online, it's gonna drive the price of natural gas, which essentially will drive the price up of electricity because that is how we're generating it.
Good. So really, well, excuse me, go ahead, comment.
And I think maybe to clarify a little bit more is that the actual energy Brainerd is using is actually most likely being generated up in Cohasset. It's actually being generated at the Boswell facility that Minnesota Power owns. So they're the transmission provider. They've been moving away from, in fact, in a few years, that will be going away. They have big contracts related to hydro. They're bringing in Canadian hydro. They've got significant wind farms on their system. And so all of these utilities, AEP is our provider that we're buying it from, but the actual production of the energy is coming probably in our neighborhood, somewhere here in Minnesota. But as to the mix, that's up to MISO as to how the mix of the different types of energy being used.
So really, it's controlled by the federal government. And so the power is there, we just are asking for more.
Right.
And
Correct. We have nameplate capacity, and the substation, the transmission lines going to our sub are adequately sized to use all of our nameplate capacity that we have on the transformers.
good. Wow, we've learned a lot this morning. This is great. One question, one statement. It's not gonna cost us anything, that's what I'm hearing, to bring these two businesses in. Right now, we're okay financially. Is that what I'm hearing from Scott? Is that what you and I said? We can do this without costing the city.
Correct, yes.
Well, Wayne, I think we can do this without costing the city with a properly crafted
Correct.
power purchasing agreement and development
Right,
agreement and all that.
yes, that's what I know that, yeah, thank you for clearing, yeah, good. Anything else?
I just wanted to make one comment, or a question maybe, and I don't know if this is maybe a question for the crypto miners or for BPU, but you were talking about how everything's become more efficient. Are there trends with crypto mining that are becoming more efficient so that maybe in the future, when you have 60 megawatts, you can still do twice as much as you used to today? I don't know if there's a trend in that
That'd be a
direction.
question for D&D. We're dealing with them right now, and they're online.
I think you're on mute.
So it looks like Fred might be trying to speak, but I am not hearing him. Lori? How's volume? Because I know we couldn't hear Connie either. Fred, if you're on, we are not able to hear you, so we're trying to figure out the... All right. There we go. Now I think I hear him. Thank you, Laurie.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead, Fred. We can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the most popular one, as we know, is Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin is designed as they will decrease the production rate every 3 years in half. So basically, the reason why we all will update our machines, our mining machines, the most newly one will be more and more energy efficient. So basically, since the production is getting lower and lower, so basically we're trying to use less and less energy to actually reach out to the same kind of production. But the Bitcoin itself, it was designed to cut the half of the production every 3 years.
Does that answer your question?
I guess maybe. I'm talking more about the capacity of the electricity. Maybe I'm asking if in the future, are we just going to keep wanting more and more and more and more? Or are we going to be happy with 50 or 60 megawatts or 100 megawatts and be able to keep continuing to improve your business or increase your business?
Oh yeah, definitely. So with the trend, I mean the trend is constantly increasing, especially after every time if the Bitcoin price is jumping, it's basically the time that the production is actually cut in half, and people are getting like a larger sizes, and our goal is trying to because we know that the city is having 50 megawatts available right now, but we have a longer development plan that we would like to. We have enough machines. We have enough the machine capacity to fill up to 200 megawatts. It's just that it will be generally because I know the city will require about a year or even 2 years to have all the substations, all the transformers ready. But so far, as we know, the city only has 50 megawatts available. So we're trying to get this ongoing, but we do crypto mining, and we are also like a major data center runner in China and in United States. So we are also thinking about because we have already talked to Trent with the possibility to bring a data center into the same industrial park. So data center is actually more likely a long term business model that if we actually build that, that will be last at least 10 to 20 years for doing that data center business.
Thank you, Mike.
And how long would the Bitcoin mining operation be in operation?
We will, right now we're talking about a five-year contract so far, but I mean it's just a business we would like to start with, but as long as we have the capacity, we have this. We will stay here.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you so much for the input. Any other questions from the council?
Apart from the infrastructure needed for the increased capacity, what other, is there buildings that would be going up on these lots? What potential jobs would be,
Right.
brought by this?
Mr. Chansky, can you answer that,
Yep,
please?
so our zoning code does have requirements regarding structures. So we would require, per the city's code, that there be a physical primary structure on the lot that would then house this operation. And that structure would have to meet the requirements of the industrial district.
And the second part of her question was employees.
And to your question, and I see Joyce Bushman is also on, as I understand, there really would not be many additional employees. I believe that it would be one, maybe two.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the information. Anything else, Jennifer or David, that we would need to, right now, we would like to, as a commission here, ask the city council to request them to convey the lots to us for the sale?
Yes.
So can
If
we,
so desired by the commission, that would be the action that staff is looking for is to make a recommendation to the council to convey these two lots, and then we'll talk about the other lots in the next agenda item, but these two lots to convey, have the council convey those to the EDA.
okay, can we have a motion to,
Yeah, I move that we direct staff to enter negotiations with the buyer for a cost closer to the city's actual cost, and further ask the city council to convey lots 1, block 2, lots 1, block 3, Brainerd Industrial Park First Edition, Corona County, Minnesota, to the EDA to negotiate a sale to B&D Power Solutions.
do I have a second? Good, thank you for that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
There's been a first and a second on that motion.
Discussion.
Discussion,
I would like to abstain from voting. I would like that noted.
okay?
I was just going to make a comment. I see this as being sorted out partially here, partially with city council, and partially with BPU. There's a lot of steps involved, a lot of factors. But I think that this discussion needs to happen at the council level, and that's why I wanted to make a second.
Jennifer.
And just discussion on the motion, we would, per rules, we would need a reason for the abstain.
I need to abstain just because of a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? All right, that motion carries, and so we'll instruct the city council to do that on their next meeting. All right. Then we have the next consideration of letter intent from the Clow properties. So
I've got a motion when you're ready.
would we like to hear from them before the motion?
You're the chair.
I would like to hear from them. Yes.
All right, Mr. Chair, if you would like, I could give a little bit of background.
Yes, please.
All right. Again, as I said, I think the last 2.5 weeks of our lives, probably more BPU than mine, has been consumed with cryptocurrency mining. On November 19th, we did meet with Clow Properties just for crypto. In, again, their interest in purchasing a couple of lots at the industrial park. They were initially offering to purchase 2 lots at a price of $260,000. Yesterday afternoon, we did get a revised letter of intent that was emailed out to you. They are now looking at purchasing 4 lots for $500,000. They also had a couple of other offers in there as well. Also, it sounds like they were offering an additional $500,000 to BPU to cover the cost of getting power to the lots. As I mentioned before, those are really 2 separate things. We're looking at a negotiation for the purchase of the land, and that's what the purchase and development agreement would be. The agreements for power would be between BPU. I would assume that the Clows would want the same thing, and that would be the development agreement or the purchase agreement being contingent upon the availability of power. As with B&D Power Solutions, just for crypto, would look at purchasing one of those lots for their crypto mining operation, but they are also looking at another lot to expand their Just for Kicks and Tea Hive operations. Both operations were historically, those 2, the Just for Kicks and Tea Hive, were conducted in Brainerd. They moved to Baxter, are looking to move back. The 2 lots that they are looking for, initially were looking for in their initial letter of intent, were those 2 properties on the north side of the industrial park, just to the east of FedEx. They are also asking for, or they were, as BPU mentioned, they were initially asking for 10 megawatts, now 20. With their new letter of intent, it looks like, I believe they're asking for 60 megawatts of power. What we are looking for, again, from the EDA is to make a recommendation to the City Council to convey those 2 lots. You've already made the recommendation to convey the other 2 lots, but at least to make a recommendation to the council to convey these 2 lots to the EDA. Again, just a reminder, one of the reasons for doing that is that the EDA does have the authority to put a right of reverter on those parcels. Mr. Chair, again, I think we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Clouds are also here to answer any questions you may have as well.
Okay. Questions for the Clow family? Representation, would you like to speak to that, please? Let's speak to this.
All right, my name's Ian. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks everybody for coming. Just to be really clear so that you guys understand what our request is, it looked like when they showed the plots of land that the other company was requesting, our updated request is for the 2 lots next to FedEx and the 2 that they're also requesting. So basically, to kind of start at the beginning here, I just want to talk a little bit about our company and what in my opinion, this means to our community. So all of us are local. You know, Steve and Cindy Clow took a big gamble about 40 years ago. Steve was working for Brainerd City and Light, it was called then. And they decided to start a small business in this town. You know, and along with some help, you know, a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, tears, they've now grown their business to a national company with over 30,000 dancers. We're home-based here, you know, and when we think about running a dance company, it's not just about teaching dance. You know, we're teaching young kids to be leaders, to be strong, to grow. That's how we run our businesses too. It's not just about making money. We create an awesome place to come and work. People love to work with us, and we're very passionate about that. And in my opinion, when I look at running a community, it shouldn't just be about who got there first or maybe who offers a little bit more. It's who's already on your team, you know, and we really feel like we've made a compelling offer to you. We feel like we've made a more than fair offer to you, and we really hope that you all take the time to really consider what it means to have a local company come in and say, we'll take it all. We'll do it all. It's stressful. It's hard. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of long days that go into planning this. We're working with all local contractors. We're expecting to employ hundreds of people on this project. We're going to build big, beautiful buildings with fences, and there's going to be jobs there. It's going to be buzzing. And when you really think about what that means to our community versus the alternative, I really, really just hope that you take your time, because this is a really big deal for us, and we don't have 2 years to wait to build out the infrastructure. So I just want to be very clear with you that this is a decision that we hope is made the correct way, but we only have one shot to make the right decision here, and we really hope that you all choose to work local like we do. Okay? Thank you.
Excellent. Any comments or questions for the?
Question.
Yes, Michael.
Your your updated proposal yesterday.
Yeah.
So you guys have been talking with a lot of investors. Are most of your investors local, or all of them local?
100% of them are local. And
So-
the investors, just so you're aware too, our investors aren't investing in our business to become partners at an ownership level or a return on investment from a ownership as an investor in our company level. Our business plan is basically a reiteration of what I just said about community focus, right? Can we afford to scratch you guys out checks for all of the money that I just wrote you that proposal for right now? No, absolutely not. So what we do is we go out and find people that believe in what we're doing. And we've brought in some huge numbers in the last week of people who want to mine crypto, but they don't have the resources to build it, and they don't know how to do it. So what we're doing is we're selling crypto miners to local businesses that are jumping on with us, and we're building and building and building and getting money very fast because other people want in on this and they just don't know how to do it. It also helps us fund the project. And then once we get up and running, then we grow, then we grow, then we grow. So we will commit to 60 megawatts. Do we need it all right now? No. But we're going to need more before you could build it out, truly. You know, we have a phase 1 project. We're working with Holden, High Tech, and Conrad Abramo for our HVAC, all locally owned, all locally managed. And we have a plan right now for a 20 megawatt facility. And immediately upon that going live, we'll be working on a second 20 and a third 20. So that's how we expect to grow into the 60. But us growing into 60 in the crypto verse is like a year from now. You know, we're ready to launch and go. And these guys all know that we're pushing them pretty hard. And sometimes I think everybody looks like what just happened. But it's the world we live in, and it's the world we excel in. And I think in a lot of ways, it's the same way that Steve and Cindy ran their business from the very beginning, too.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council? Yes.
Are you guys you have existing servers right now that you're doing?
Absolutely. Yep. So we have proof of concept. So that's why people are jumping in and investing with us right now, is because we can bring them. And I would love to bring all of you there. By all means, we would love to show you what this is. It's up and operational at the Tea Hive right now. We're expanding the Tea Hive currently. So basically, we've got one farm on one side of the building, and then just adjacent to it, we're building another one. And then our plan is to build a 60 megawatt farm minimum here, and then continue to expand that, assuming that there's power available from BPU.
So I'm understanding that you guys are setting up the servers and then you're basically like selling space to other people to use those servers for mining. Is that
how much time you got?
Not a lot, but
so basically what we do, so if you think of buying and selling houses, right? Like you own a house and Gabe wants to buy it from you. There has to be a title company involved in the middle to handle that transaction. So you own the house, he has the money, you guys trade, the title company gets a little bit of cheese off of that block, right? To handle the transaction. Does that make sense to you?
yeah, I guess I'm just trying to differentiate, like if you guys are just hosting the servers.
Oh, that's what I'm explaining to you, okay? Yeah. So when you own a house, he has money, you guys trade, you pay the title company to handle the transaction. What we do is people have a Bitcoin and people have cash and they want to trade. Like if you want to invest in Bitcoin and this guy over here has a bunch of them, you trade, the people who host that transaction get a little piece of the pie. That's what we do.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm just also wondering, like, from my limited research into this, it just seems like with Bitcoin mining that there's just like a constant need to add more and more servers to keep up with everything. So
it's not to keep up.
This is just like an initial request, right? So you guys, do you have like an anticipated need for like?
Okay, so you're absolutely right that everybody who has one crypto miner wants 10 and then wants 100, then wants 1,000, then wants 1,000,000. It's very, very lucrative business. And that's why we're in a position to offer things like fixing the water tower and future projects. I hear things like the YMCA needs help with renovation of a daycare. We dream of a day in the very, very near future where you're all comfortable coming to us with that. These are the types of things we can accomplish with a project like this. So yes, everybody wants to grow fast, fast, fast because it's extremely lucrative. And our need is 60. Do we want 5,000 megawatts? Of course, yeah, because it's just so lucrative. But we really need 60 to get going.
Okay.
Thank you. But really, you only need 20 to get going. The first phase, you said.
Yes, but we need 60 for our project scope to achieve what it needs to be.
Great presentation. Any other comments? I don't understand why you.
I'll say one thing.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think in the last year and a half that I've been involved here with this commission, we had a big project come through. They had a lot of plans already drawn up. Obviously, they had a lot of time. This is all developed pretty quickly, but if you could have some kind of rough design about what you guys are picturing back there, that might help too.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah, we have a rough design of our 20 megawatt farm, which will then be replicated twice over. And I really think if you all came to the Tea Hive to see what we have going there, that would then help you understand the design of what we're going to have. It's basically a big giant building full of computers with a whole bunch of people running around in it, making sure everything's running right and things like that.
Excellent. That's been very helpful.
Cool.
You've really, really helped us understand this.
Great.
Thank you so much.
I have one question, I suppose. We've had this land developed since like 2005. We've had the power since like 2008. Why is it you're showing up on December 2nd asking for land that somebody else had already put in a letter of intent to purchase for?
I'll be very clear with you. So
it's been pretty foggy thus far. 3 different letters of intents, and you want 10, then you want 20, then you want 60. Do you know what you need? Do you know what you want?
I do, and I'll be really clear with you. So yes, we need 60. Okay, and the reason that it's changed and changed and changed is because we are continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow our knowledge of the industry. And we started crypto mining here a while ago. We've been involved in cryptocurrency as individuals and as a company for a few years now. Do we know how to perfectly put together a proposal for local government? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We know how to run a family-owned business and grow it and generate revenue. So while it seems foggy to you, I can fully understand that, and I apologize for that. This isn't what we do. It's not what we do. And when we find out that there's opportunities and there's more opportunity than we thought, I'm going to just keep coming back to you and say, hey, you know, things changed, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm learning along with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, Gabe, are you ready to make your motion?
Well, I was going to make a motion based on the letter of intent that was put in the public packet for public inspection, and apparently there's a different letter of intent that other people are discussing, so I'm not sure what the motion would be at this point. So maybe I'll leave it to somebody else to make.
Well, I think the motion that we need is to have the city council convey the lots so that we can move forward with the EDA of making that sale as this develops over the next few weeks or next week or two.
But is it the same lots that we just voted to convey to negotiate with a different entity?
Jennifer, would you?
Yep, so, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, as you mentioned, the letter of intent that is in your packet was asking for lots 7 and 8. That's PID 41060511 and 41060510. Those are the two that were in your packet. That offer is for $260,000, 4.65 acres. Again, as I mentioned, the negotiation of actual sale will be done after and if the council conveys those lots. I think we got a revised letter of intent yesterday afternoon. We forwarded that out to the council. But as for what is in the public packet, Commissioner Johnson is right on. And the other thing I would say is that you already did make a motion for the other two lots that the Clow Properties is also asking for. So I think
It's really just
the two lots that I just mentioned.
Yes. So, you'll make that motion then for lots 7 and 8 then?
Yeah, so I move that the EDA recommended the city council the sale of lots 7 and 8, Block 1, Brainerd Industrial Park, First Edition, Crow Wing County, Minnesota. Sell to Cloud Properties at a purchase price to be negotiated with the buyer, and request the city council convey the land to the EDA for a sale and development agreement. I so move.
I'll second.
Now, do we need all that information in that motion?
I read what they recommended.
That's what we need? Okay.
Yes.
Any comments or questions about that motion?
So if the developer wants those additional lots, can they put another request in for them? Or is the lots that we're conveying, is that going to be sufficient for what they need? And
So, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
This came to us literally at the last minute. Staff has not had the opportunity to really dig into what we do in this situation. We would need time. We do plan on talking with attorneys this afternoon to try to figure out what we do next. I think that comes next, right? So this is just to convey the land. The next part will be to negotiate the purchase of these lots. So I think we have some time. Just because you're recommending conveyance of the land from the council to the EDA does not obligate you to sell those lots. It would have to have a negotiated purchase and development agreement.
Right. So it's very simple at this point to get those lots to the EDA so that we have the power to sell them to whoever we feel like selling them to. And them negotiations will take place in the future here, but we are not selling them today.
That is correct.
All we're doing is getting the city to give us the power to sell them.
The EDA does not currently own the land to be
Right.
able to sell the land. That is correct.
And the reason for that is because we need, Jennifer, would you explain?
Yep, the right of reverter. The EDA does have additional powers that city councils do not. That helps protect the city.
And I've been on the EDA for many years, and we've had many projects come before us that have fell through the floor time and time again, very disappointing. But this gives us the power to say, if you're not gonna follow through, you're not gonna follow through in your agreements, we can pull that out. The city of Brainerd cannot do that.
Correct.
But the EDA can, and that's what we need today, is to have them lots conveyed to us. So is that clear to everybody? Does that make good sense? Okay, Michael.
Would it be wise if you could back the map up a little bit? So there's a lot of lots, of separate lots across the street,
Yeah.
down the street. Would it be wise, even though it's not in the proposal, to add, say, the two across the street to be considered between both parties?
So I can handle
Yep.
that. So yeah, so the EDA could ask the council to convey whatever they want. If you remember from a year ago when Anderson Brothers was interested,
Yes.
the EDA asked the council to convey all 13 lots, which the council did. But because that fell through, that conveyance was not finalized. So then there was no deed that was actually signed over to the EDA. So you could ask the council to convey additional lots, and if those lots aren't needed, the city would just retain them. They wouldn't formally be deeded over to the EDA, as they would just be determined as unnecessary.
Personally, I think there would be no harm in us asking the city council to do that. I mean, at this point, we don't know what the negotiations are. We know what kind of power we have, and we just have to decide who we'd like to sell this to and who we want to see invest in the property, and what does the future look like from the people buying it. Yes, Jennifer?
And Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I think at the time that we sent out this packet, it was very clear. There were 4 lots. And so now with the revised letter of intent, I think you're right. I think there could be maybe some more negotiations with the Clow family or Clow properties if they're interested in other lots. We were not aware of that until yesterday afternoon.
So, do I need another motion or
I would
revise?
amend my motion to include the 2 lots directly south of the
And
aforementioned lot.
Commissioner Johnson, those are lots 3 and 4, block 4.
Those are the lots I was including.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chansky, for that. So, you want to
Just revise my motion to include those lots.
I'll second.
And we have a first and a second. Anybody have questions about that?
I just need to make it noted that I'm abstaining from voting for the same reason.
You crypto investor.
Conflict of interest, correct? Thank you.
There's been a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Excellent. I want to thank, at this time, B&D for being here today. Thank you, Clow family. You've done an excellent job in presenting both parties, so thank you. I don't know that there'd be anything else that we need you for here today, is there?
Well, I just had a question while BPU reps are here. So what's to stop somebody from like setting up a server farm like anywhere they feel like and tapping into the electrical grid? Is there any like protections in place to prevent that?
MISO is the ultimate authority of where that power can be sold on bulk level. So MISO would have to agree to it. So your transmission companies would approach MISO and say, hey, we have a proposed client that would like to add X amount of megawatts to your transmission system. That start the transmission study. MISO analyzes that and says, no, this particular region cannot support that load growth without conductor being upsized or transmission lines being upsized. Very rare for MISO to allow that. They need to make sure that the entire country can interconnect. You guys remember what happened in Texas last year? MISO protects us from that happening in Minnesota. MISO's rough numbers from Dakotas to Wisconsin, straight down to the north side of Texas, where they had the issues last year. That's what MISO covers through the United States. Through that entire piece, MISO is in charge of anybody that wants to interconnect to the bulk transmission line. They have the final say who can and cannot connect.
Good.
To piggyback on that, what if I just want to start sucking up 10 megawatts in my garage? Can I do that?
Well, if we had available capacity, say we had infinity.
the capacity.
We had a infinity capacity and everybody could get what they wanted, yes, but we'd have to upgrade that line to your house to do it.
Okay.
And that's where the issue we run into is that we have the capacity at the transformers. The transformers can support the extra load. The transmission line can support the extra load that we have nameplate capacity for today. That's at 140, 143 megawatts. We're consuming 41. Tomorrow we could be consuming 70. I can't tell you. So in your garage currently right now, you could plug as much as your electrical service can handle and you will melt your wires off before you melt ours off. That would be a mistake on your part.
I think the other answer, or maybe if the federal government's involved, it's a 2-year, 3-year project.
The transmission studies are all encompassing through that entire MISO grid. So
Right.
when that outages were happening in Texas, there are parts in the western side of Minnesota that do not fall under MISO and that were handled underneath the same grid. They were actually starting generators in Moorhead, Minnesota and stuff to support that outage in Texas. That's how huge the grid actually is. So it's not, we think locally in Brainerd right now, this grid is, they were starting generators in Moorhead, Minnesota to help get that resolved in Texas. If that helps understand the capacity of what we're talking about here.
Mind-boggling. Thank you. That's really great. We learned so much. Thank you. Okay. So next Thursday, is the commission ready all to meet at 7:30 next Thursday morning?
Yes.
That'd be December 9th. Everybody's on board?
Will there be cake?
You know what? It is Thursday, so maybe there will be donuts, senior center donuts. The other thing that I do just want to say about next Thursday is what we will be asking for is for you to give us the authority to move forward with negotiations. So I just want to be really clear on expectations that you will not have a development agreement for you to consider on Thursday. That will really start us with the negotiating process. The other thing that I'd also like to say too is I know that both groups would like to move quickly. We would ask you to kind of reserve some dates should we need to have some special meetings. Again, as I also mentioned, I know for sure B&D Power Solutions, I am assuming Cloud Properties are going to want these development agreements to be contingent upon the availability of electricity. So while we may have a negotiated development agreement, we may not actually close on these lots until after BPU has had the opportunity to resolve their contracts with both groups.
And if I
Yes, Mr.
can, Mr.
Chansky.
Chair, also for on December 9th, 2 other items that we're going to ask you to be considering are, again, the EDA proposals, which originally had on plan for today, but due to these 2 items that came up, we're asking that they move to the 9th. And then also the 2022 budget, since those 2 things came together, that's we're holding those together. I believe I think Connie told me the EDA's budget does need to be adopted, I think she said by the 20th. So we are going to be looking for direction on the budget as well. Regarding the proposals, I know the recommendation has been made to have the subcommittee that worked on developing the RFP work with staff to review the proposals, so then we can have a very guided discussion with the EDA on the 9th, and then you don't have to sit here for 3 hours going through 10 proposals in detail. If the commission is willing to do that, I know Commissioner Kirsch was on that committee, and also is part of one of the proposals. So if that committee is made, we would recommend that Commissioner Kirsch would step down, as she does have that conflict of interest, and another commissioner replace her on that committee.
Okay, do you need that done today?
Yes, we would
Yeah,
want. We would definitely want
to
to
hire Tony on the committee.
Tony, will you accept?
Sure.
Okay,
And then
that was easy.
And then,
Yeah, got
Mr.
it.
Chair, we would like a motion to call for a special meeting on December 9th at 7:30
So moved.
a.m.
A motion has been made, seconded. All in favor of the special meeting on the 9th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign carried. We're going to have a meeting on December 9th at 7:30 a.m.
And just for clarification, I believe the subcommittee would be Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner O'Day, and Commissioner Beazer. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
And then if you could stick around so we can maybe see what availability you have on Monday. And then David this afternoon could get out electronic copies or printed, whichever you'd like, on the, I believe it was 10 proposals that we received. I also did start kind of a spreadsheet to start looking at these. As you know, we have 8 different categories. And not everybody applied for all 8. We have 1 for 1, a couple for 3. So I kind of started a spreadsheet that might help us in scoring. So I'll share that with you as well.
And we do have to have a budget put together next Thursday,
And for the it shouldn't
unless
be.
we're gonna have another meeting.
And it shouldn't be too difficult. You know,
Okay.
we've been working with Connie with these RFP proposals. The commission put out 100, pretty much your entire levy for the proposals. So assuming the proposals come to that number, it could be as simple as putting 145,000 in, contractual services or something
Sure.
like that. So that wouldn't be too hard. We just can't really set the budget until we have an idea direction of where we're going to be going with these proposals.
Yes, understood. Everybody's okay? All right, any other information that needs to be shared today? Anything else? Okay, commissioners' comments, questions? Tony? Nothing? Michael?
It's an exciting time.
Mike, go ahead. Anything?
You run a great meeting, Wayne.
Thank you, everyone. This has been really wonderful to see from and to hear from you. We need more of these kind of meetings with people involved about the city of Brainerd. This is exciting. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the early morning, coming in and disrupting your days. And I know everybody's got things going on, so thank you very much. This has really been informative, and this is what we need. And Brainerd needs this, and the BPU, you need this. You need extra work. I've heard there's been a lot of breaks being taken down there.
Yeah, right. I'd like to add, Mr. Erickson, Member Chair, if I could.
Yes.
BPU will support any questions that we have from any developers, and especially from our commissions that have questions. So I know things are going to pop in your head, and you're going to have questions about this. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll do the best we can to understand your question and answer it so we can all be on the same page.
Now, listen, everyone's done a great job today. This has really been, from what we were reading on paper, it's come alive this morning, and this is wonderful. Thank you so much. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Tony. All in favor of adjourning?
Hi.
Aye.